And now her son King Charles III at the age of 73 is going to be the next king, the monarch of the UK. All right, Shrikant Sharma, former diplomat with us. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us on NewsX. Also, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, defense expert with us. I'm going to go first to the former diplomat Shrikant Sharma. Sir, your first reaction to the demise of Queen Elizabeth II. She was Britain's longest reigning monarch. She died at 96 yesterday.
Well, this is truly and very significantly a passing of an era.
Major Mohammed Shah has also joined us. Let's rope him in also in the conversation, sir. Morning, Major Shah. Thank you for joining us on NewsX. Your first reactions, of course, condolences pouring in, as I said earlier. World leaders, of course, giving condolences to the UK over the demise of Queen Elizabeth II. She was the longest serving queen of the country. Your first reaction, of course, to that news which came in late last night, sir.
You know, at night we were at Vijay Chowk with your channel only. There was Vineet Malhotra, there were other panelists. There was Wing Commander Praful Bakshi, and there was Smith Peer and Professor Kaul, and I was sitting there. On the WhatsApp, right now I will just tell you what the wind was. On the WhatsApp, it came that she's very unwell, she's very serious, we don't know what's really happened, and that's the time we all discussed it at Vijay Chowk that day in the break when we were not live. We said, what's going to happen now? Now, when it was all decided that, okay, when this is going to happen, then of course, Prince Charles would come in as the third king, in fact. He'll be known as the King Charles III, His Highness King Charles III. It's a very sad news, and for a 2-year-old lady passing away, of course, I would say one thing, though it's a very, very sad news, it is always sad when someone passes away, but when someone of that old age, with great suffering, goes, I would say it's an end to that person's suffering first. It's a relief for that person. Secondly, it's an end of an era. Because Queen Elizabeth, I mean, she was a legend. She was a living legend. Until yesterday, she was a living legend. So yes, it is very, very sad. And there was a book I had read of, written by Andrew David Morgan. He written Diana, her true story, on Lady Diana. And he also wrote on Queen Elizabeth, and he wrote about basically about the royal family of Britain and those things. So I read this book in school, and so many insights about the Buckingham Palace, about Queen Elizabeth, about Prince Charles, King Charles now, sorry, and about the royal family. There's so much one learned, and I think they've left a legacy behind which the next. King Charles, His Highness King Charles III, at 73, he becomes the king. So yes, it is very sad, as no doubt. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his condolence. Liz Truss, the British Prime Minister, she has come out, she's conveyed her condolence. But now, also one more thing, King Charles III, His Highness King Charles III, he would be looking after 14 Commonwealth countries. They would be a lot, including Australia and so many other things, would be with him, at least ceremonially. So yes, it is very, very sad, Meenakshi, and my heart goes out to the family and deepest condolence if they're listening from India, in fact.
Well, certainly, and also, you said it's an end of an era. Help us understand, why it's an end of an era, because a lot of our younger viewers perhaps who are not acquainted with her legacy and why it's so important today to reminiscence and remember Queen Elizabeth II.
End of an era, 96 years old, right? So which obviously means 4 years short of 100, which means if you date back, this is which year? 2022. We go back to 1918. Now, which means she saw the world wars. 1914, the First World War took place, right? And then the Second World War followed thereafter. So which means she has lived through the World War first. She was alive that time. She was a little child, that's a different thing. But she was there, she's seen that. She's seen the World War II. In fact, she wrote a letter to during the World War II where she mentioned that the World War II is likely to break out and this is what should be done. And that letter was published somewhere in the early 80s, many, many decades after she wrote that letter. She has seen so much. When a 96-year-old living legend has seen so much, when the India-Pakistan partition took place, when the Britishers left India, in fact, 1947, she's lived through those times. She has seen it, I would say, all, actually. So she has gone through and she has been through and she has experienced it. So it certainly is an end of an era, and her legacy would live on because legends never die. They live in our hearts and minds forever. And I think Queen Elizabeth would live in our hearts and minds forever, actually.
Major Shah, tell us a little more about her India connect. She became the monarch. She took over the reign in the 60s when Indira Gandhi was already the Prime Minister of the country. Ever since she's taken over, really, we know a little bit about, how the world leaders, especially Indian leaders, have also called upon her. Tell us a little more on that front, sir.
Okay. She was a very binding factor. And Britain in a large ways, in not many ways. In fact, when she took over the reins in the 60s, that time you were rightly said by you, Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister, and the strengthening of, because after Britishers left India in 1947, then initially we had this thing that, the Britishers ruled over us, but then, of course, slowly and gradually, the bond started increasing, and then we saw Britishers as our friends. It's like, somebody is commanding over you, somebody is ruling over you.
We've given up the colonial past, but her legacy, really, that's something which is being cherished world over today. I'd like to thank both of you for joining us on NewsX.